Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 84 of a Naughty Mess Knitting Podcast. Okay, we have a lot to cover this week because this past weekend was Rose City Yarn Crawl. So I have lots of fun things to share about that, but before we get into it, if you're brand new here, hi, you've come to a very exciting episode. If you're returning, I hope this is fun for you. We are going to, cover a lot of things. So my name is Megan. I live in the Pacific Northwest with my husband, Mike, our daughter, Theo, our dog, Winter, and my mom, Cindy. We are experiencing some really nice spring weather, so I'm ready to jump into it. Today I will be covering all the normal podcast things. So what I'm wearing, even though this is an old finished object, I mean, I finished it last fall, and then finished objects, which I have one of this week: whips, books, acquisitions, not in that order necessarily, spin updates, and lots of stuff about Rose City. First things first though, just because this was at the top of my bag in like a little bag, I would like to show you. This is a spoiler alert, but not really, because I told you we were going to do this. I do have my little Rose City Yarn Crawl 2025 button, which you only get if you're a finisher. There are buttons at all of the shops, which is really cute because they're like smaller than this. They're very small. And most of them had like something thematic from this year, which was like, I don't know, space. I don't know what the actual theme was for the Yarn Crawl, but because there's a mystery knit along and some other fun things. Just now that I can put that on my desk, let's go through some really fun things. First, I want to talk about the 3 Seasons. So this is my 3 Seasons pullover by Wool & Pine Designs. This came out last fall. It looks like I finished it September 29th, and this is a pretty short deadline, so I think that it came out, soon after that. I made a couple of updates. They were just some things that like within the test that I was working off of one version, and then they updated very small numbers on part of the side panels. This is knit flat. You do the back and then the fronts, and it is top down still, but you do the fronts and then you seam, and then you do the sleeves. You really want to fish the bottoms and then seam them up, right? And so you kind of have to do the sleeves last. I hate doing that, but I did do it that way. It is a drop shoulder still though. Like this is where the, my shoulder seam is. My armpit is like way in here. Okay. So I have a bunch of notes in my Ravelry page if you want to see this, but I did make a size 5, which was 48 inches for the garment. My finished measurement was 48 inches. Can you believe it? And then I have some other measurements. This is a relatively long length on me. The body length from underarm to hem is 15 inches. I do like this. It still doesn't cover my butt, but this is like it's not super boxy fitting on me either, but it's just like it's a nice length. There are a lot of things I don't knit this long. This is a worsted weight knit, so it did not feel too arduous. And part of it was like where I wanted to finish the cables. It's just like I knit until then. I used the yarn they use for the sample. It's what they recommend, not because it's the only yarn like this, but because it's a relatively affordable version of the yarns like this. It is blown tube yarn. It's got it's cotton tubes with superwash merino on the inside, and it's called Cascade Cantata. This is for solids. I have more of this to make the cardigan because I do like it. When we were on the yarn crawl, I saw a couple other blown tubes that were very beautiful, a little bit softer, and 3 times the price. So, it's like, it's weighing a this or that. And this is the color plum. I did, obviously, we've talked about this. If you are new to the podcast, I have used blown tube yarn before. One of the only other things I knit was, garment-wise, was a Skyline. It's a test, the Skyline Pullover, which was also DK weight, with blown tube yarn from Hobby, and they don't make this anymore. So for a reason, they discontinued it. It's so crunchy and terrible. This one feels so much nicer. The knitting with it experience was pretty good. So overall, pretty good. I will say, I think it's holding up pretty well. It does have a slight halo fuzz, so you just are going to see that on, but I don't think it looks, you know, bad here. This has got lace panels. That's why you can see on my skin here. It's got cables, and it's got some of this, like this is lace through your armpit, which is actually, that looks so cute right there. Okay. And then on the back, there is a panel, I think it's just on the back, that's got these like, it's like a pearl two together situation. So it makes like a little, little crosses, or like little kind of honeycomb, but not honeycomb. Okay. Really fun to knit. Overall, I do wear it a lot. I think it's very flattering. I am having, what I was going to tell you though, is with the yarn, like I could definitely do a shave on this like little panel here. And it would like look a little bit fresher, but I'm not gonna right now. I didn't want to do it before the episode. It's early and I didn't feel like doing that. But yeah, overall looks great and happy to wear it around. And yeah, I don't think like the pilling on the front is bad. It just looks more fuzzy. So let's move on. Okay, on to the finished object for this week. So I don't know if this will be a surprise, maybe, because I didn't have very much done last week, but I finished my grid Gambit. It's so cute, and it's a tiny bit small, but let's talk about this. Anyway, so for sizing, there's really only one size in the pattern. It is made with 4.5 millimeter needles, and I used what we talked about last week in the podcast, a very special combination that Maya helped me pick out. So this is Durare Natura Ulysse. The colorway is called, I think, Bruyere, and the hand spun is called Chasing Fireflies from Wee Chickadee. Okay, so I was wrong last week also when I was like, I think it goes this way, when Ariel and I were talking about it, and it was still pretty small, and I brought it to Rose City, and she was like, she like turned around, she goes that way, and I was like, ah, yes, that's what the thing said. So basically, and I can see it now because of where I started, so there is like slightly different start than what it looks like where it ends. But anyway, so you make a triangle, increases on both sides, and then you do only increases on one side, and you can see that this side stays the same, right? Like I have the full squares here, but the top side is what's changing. And then eventually only the last chart is decreases. And so you come over to basically this side here and you start decreasing along this line. So it's sewn together, but you can see that those decreases live here. And that decrease line is where you end up sewing together. So I am not sure entirely. I don't think it would match up anyway, but you know, I matched up when I sewed them together, like the grid lines, you know, so these all, and I didn't do that, like, I mean, kind of on purpose, but like, that's just how it goes together once you start mattress stitching, as long as your mattress seaming like from the same spot on the bottoms. So I think that looks pretty nice in the back. Granted, it's going to be like, you know, it's never going to be super tall like this. Okay, so let's talk about sizing here. What I did, and I read this on a couple of people's project pages, and I'll put this on mine too, that there were a couple of people that said they did 2 less full, like when you're doing the pattern, this will make sense, but you basically like a full repeat of the square. And so that whole line, they did 2 less of them. Now that's more increases on the one side. And so the whole thing is like slightly smaller, but it did the full decrease chart, because that is what matches up in the back. So it doesn't really matter how many stitches you have on the side. It's just going to make your like cowl be a little bit more A-line, or less A-line. But I read some project pages. I was running out of yarn. I don't think I could have squeezed one more square out. I have like 5 grams left, which is not quite enough rows. That I weighed out a couple when I was getting towards this, and I was like, I think I'm gonna be in trouble. But also what these project pages said is like, if you look at the picture for Samantha Guerin's, and I'll pop it up again really quick here. If you look at the picture, it sits kind of far from her neck. Like it's got quite a lot of volume, and I am only ever going to really wear cowls if it's kind of cold out and I actually want my neck to be covered. If yeah, so, and cows you can't like adjust. It's not like a scarf where you can wrap and unwrap. It's like, it just is where it is. So I decided that I would err on slightly smaller. If it's too small, I've got nieces who are little and I can gift this to them. If it fits, then I will have a closer fitting thing. It fits. Okay, spoiler alert. I did block it. I did block it so that this top line was just a little bit more open. And I didn't do a lot of pulling in any other direction. But here we go. Goes over my head just fine. And I actually really like where it sits. So this is going to be truly, for when it's cold out, a cowl for me. I probably won't wear it very much the rest of this year, though. If you've ever been to Seattle in the spring, our spring can go from 50 degrees and beautiful-ish, kind of cold still. I know that's cold for people, but that's nice here, to like 30 again, and really rainy or whatever. So I may get some use out of it this year. And if I don't, I will just wear it next fall and that is fine. But I really love it. I love the color. I love how it sits. I think it's really great. So I think those 2 less pattern repeats was perfect for me and where my gauge was and the yarn, etc. I think it like washed pretty soft. It just feels really like scrumptious. I really like it. Okay, so that's it. That is the cowl. I'll wear it for a little bit. It's going to get a little bit warm in my office maybe, but I do not have socks on right now, so my feet are kind of cold. So maybe this will just it'll make up the difference. Okay. But yes, Grid Gambit, Samantha Guerin. I really like it. It was really fun. One of the followers here posted that last week that they ended up swapping, and I looked for project pages for this because I had a lot of yardage of the Chasing Fireflies, and I was like, what if I did it the opposite way? But I wanted to see what it would look like for someone's, and I could not find one. And what I do like about having the contrasting color be the color change is that this part of the grid, that really like distinct 3 lines show up really great because those are garter and the background is in stockinette, you know, sort of. It's just two rows, right? But it gives them a lot of pop. I do think it would be a fun thing to experiment and do it the other way. So I'm hoping that follower who posted that shares somehow, Discord or Instagram with me or something, the end product of theirs swapped, because I really want to see what that looks like before I decide if I'm going to make another one. But this would be on my let's do our quick yarn pattern review section. So I think overall this pattern was easy to follow. It is charted and written, so I think that's really a great option for people who don't like to follow charts. Once you get into the rhythm, you don't have to look very much anyway. You just have to kind of make sure you've done enough repeats, or, you know, like I was just checking off by section to make sure I had like the full thing. But like once you really get through like the 2nd or 3rd grid, like it's pretty easy to follow along with where you're going to go. So I really liked that. I do think there's one part of the pattern that I found a little confusing. So if you read through this at the very beginning, she sort of lays out like the pattern itself is only like half a page, where it just says do this setup and then follow chart A, B, C, D in that order. And then, you know, bind off and finish, block, and then seam. That's really the whole pattern, but then it's all the charts and then it's all the written instructions. But the one piece that I found confusing is that she says at the beginning of the pattern thing is that you'll carry your non-working yarn through the I-cord, which is true, but the very first chart you do, there is no I-cord on the right hand side of the right side. So that I was like, Ariel said the same thing. I was like looking, I was like, am I missing something? Like I'm not carrying it on the other side of the I-cord. And I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna ignore that instruction. Then it made sense for the rest of it, but it's the part where you seam anyway. So it's not a part that you would visually ever see where you're carrying it up the yarn or anything anyway. But just so you know, if you get to that instruction and you're like, what? Do what you think you should be doing and you're going to be correct. I do like this adjustment for a tighter cowl for sure. Would I make it again? Absolutely. I mean, I think this is a really great gift knit because it's such a fun, like I just think graphically, like it's like very visually fun. And I think you could use minis. There's a lot of ways I think that this could look totally different. I mean, obviously, if you look through project pages, I think there's several hundred, I don't know. But I looked through a bunch of pictures and like, there's a lot of really fun combos. I think high contrast, you could do this low contrast and really love it. So yeah, again, I don't know that I would need tons of these, but it would be a really fun way to gift knit, and a fun way to gift knit my hand spun in a way that doesn't feel like too precious to me. And I wouldn't have to worry about people like, you know, washing it often or whatever, like give them easy instructions. So yes, would make again. Would use this yarn again. Obviously, I think the hand spun was really great. I would definitely spin more of Jen's Targhee. I think that this was a good Targhee experience. I've only had two, one bad, one great. This is the great one. So, and then obviously Ulyss. I think if I gifted this though, I would maybe like, depending on if the person's close by, like I'd maybe have them try this on first to see if they like the size, and also this yarn if it's too itchy for them. I think if you're not used to wools, this might, before you wear it a lot, not be quite soft enough for someone's neck. I have no problem wearing it. So I think it's just depends on your tolerance, etc. And so, but like I would definitely use other yarns, and I think you could do this pretty easily in a superwash and it would look nice. So yes, here we are. Okay, I'm skipping a couple of whips this week. I am not going to do the Dolan coat because although I did add several rows to it, I didn't take it with me to Rose City, and so I did not make as much progress as I wanted to this coming week, because I do have like 5 inches of body done, which I think I had maybe 3 before, but like you guys, it's not exciting to see 2 inches of plain body progress. I think I'm gonna work on sleeves next week because I think I need just like something different to work on. I did get to chat with this, spoiler, some of the weekend, but Woolfolk was at one of the pop-ups on Friday, so I did get to talk to some of the team. Super nice people. Yeah, and they had just a tiny bit of the flat bulky there, but they had some really nice other yarns. Okay, checker plate sweater I am also not going to talk about because I did not take that one with me, and I made 0 progress on this again, but I do need to pick it up. And I think I'm going to try to pick it up this week when I maybe finish one other thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, I will go through my Salty Air tea, only because I'm very close. I think I'm like 4 or 5 rows from finishing the chart. And so I need to do a measurement to see, I might do a pre-block. I'm going to see. I think I need to put this on bigger needles and then make a decision on how I feel about the split for sleeves early. This is the back. So the front doesn't feel too long, so maybe gauge-wise I am doing okay on my row gauge, though I know I am off. It's maybe not as significant as I thought. But you can see this really beautiful pattern is appearing. It's really pretty, actually. So yeah, I'm pleased with how that's working up, and it's been fun. It's now with the last round of increases in the yoke, it feels like a lot. Oh, I think if I don't do the last, what's like written in the pattern to do again, I think I still have to do 1 row of increases before I would split for sleeves, because I think that, you know, that's the last part, but we'll see. I might be fine to just continue as written in the pattern. And that's by Samantha Guerin Design. I'm not going to do a big chat through all of the details on that because I think we'll see better progress next week and we can review it, but making a size 5, you know, all the things, and that's back loop yarn and fiber in linen sock, or yeah, in linen sock. Okay, let's go through the one that got the most attention, I think, this week. And it got attention because it was my on-the-go project, though I have things to share. So this is, making a mess here. This is my Avenue Tee by Tori Yu, who is Tori Knits NYC on Instagram. This is a test knit. It will be out in April. So just in time for some really nice spring and summer knitting. There are 2 views. There is the V-neck and a crew neck, and the crew neck has kind of a nice little scoop. It's not like a super high crew neck, I don't think. We have not seen these pictured on her, but it's the same neckline as the vest, and if you've seen the vest on people, it's not super high. So I did the neckline last night. It is flipping in a little bit, but so was it was on my vest too, so I'm not concerned about it. It's not super bunchy or anything. It's just flipping in a little. I have also completed one sleeve. I have also completed a significant amount of the body, and let me show you where. So this is where I was last week. I had just split for sleeves, like done almost no rows, like 2, I think. And then I took it with me and I knit a ton while we were in Portland. And then I ripped that all out. So that's fun. Yeah, so that was kind of unintentional. So here's what happened. I have 3 balls of yarn from Paisley at Horizon Fibers, which she's a very small yarn dyer out of Canada. And no knock on her. She did a good job with the colors, but I do have one skein that is significantly darker enough. Okay, it's not like a really different color. I feel like it's a tiny bit greener and it's a little bit darker. So that's the ball of yarn I brought with me. When I wound them, I didn't really notice a difference. And I did wind both of them at the same time. I tend to do this. If I'm going to start a project, even a t-shirt, even if I only have 3 balls of yarn, I'm just going to wind 2. This is like the barrier I can break through to start, and then I can do more as needed. But I wound 2 of them, and the second one was darker. No, I didn't realize this. So I did the first one and I just knit all the way through it because I was like, yeah, they looked pretty close. Then I started knitting the second one and I got not quite this far, but probably 3 to 3.5 inches of body added. And while we were at Rose City, I was like, it was maybe on Sunday that I was like knitting on this in the sunshine. And then I realized, I was like, no, it must have been Saturday sometime when it was light out. And I was just like, I had made a bunch of progress in the morning and but I just wasn't looking. I we were chatting and whatever, and I didn't like lay it out on my lap to look at it. Maybe if I had pulled a Katie loves to just lay her knitting out and like admire it every few rows, I would have noticed this earlier and would have just swapped projects, but I had done quite a lot. So I asked the group, I was like, do you think this is noticeable? And everyone's like, oh, I don't really think so. Like, keep going. Also, I didn't have the 3rd ball of yarn wound or with me. I was like, okay. So I had a little bit more. And then I got home and I really looked at it. I like slept on it on Sunday night. And on Monday, I looked at it more closely. And I was like, that's going to drive me nuts. I know I'm going to wind my 3rd ball of yarn and see if it looks lighter. And it did. Not significantly again, but just enough that I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I can't do it. I can't. Because if the 3rd ball is lighter, it's going to be just like a dark section in the middle. And then like, I was like, no. So I ripped it all out. And that's what happens sometimes. This is a hand-dyed yarn. It's not perfect. It's, helically knitting is a thing for a reason, but that's okay. And I didn't helically knit, so I only ripped back to the join and then I just added it. You cannot tell the difference between these skeins. I don't think there's not anything significant. On camera, you would have been able to see the other one. I'm not crazy. I'm telling you, it was enough. So this is right here, actually, little marker is like right where my body join, like the 2 balls of yarn is. So I did like 1 inch that I kept, and then I had to get rid of like 3.5. I've added back. I mean, I'm past that now. I'm almost at 5 inches extra added. And then I decided I wanted from that same ball of yarn, the slightly lighter one, to do the neckline and the sleeves if I could. So I've been pulling from the inside for that. So I did this one sleeve last night and the neckline. And the sleeve is so cute. Isn't that adorable? Look at an adorable little sleeve. It looks really cute on. I tried it on with the sleeve, everything but the ribbing, and I really like the length for it. It's kind of longer. So for me, this is like a really good thing because of how you do the construction of this, which we'll talk about in a second. You get like a nice cap and then you add 3 inches. And so like, it's going to go like a full sleeve, which I think is going to be really cute. And so I'm on the second sleeve. I will finish this first today, tonight, whatever. And then I will go back to the body. And if I have like 15 to 20 grams left, because I think this is supposed to be 10 inches total. So cropped. I'm not going to make it quite as cropped as hers. I'll probably make it 11.5 inches, maybe almost 12. because I'll just wear it more when it's like that. And Tori doesn't mind if you add a little length, like that's not significantly changing the pattern. So I will, and I'll record, I'll record the full length of my project, etc. But I will do the addition with the third ball of yarn. And if I'm like down to 10 to 15 grams of yarn, I will probably closer to 10 grams, I will start helically knitting. So I will get a little bit of that darker, but I will try to make it, just the last inch and a half or so. I think that's where I'll get it, which is not a bad thing. That's fine. I won't care as much if it's just at the bottom. I thought it would just be weird if it was like an in-between kind of thing. So cute. Isn't it cute? I really like it. So that was the trials and tribulations of this one. Okay, so if we talk about construction again, now you can really see what's happening here. You cast on the back piece. You make this tiny little, let's see if it focuses. There we go. Little baby saddle shoulder thing because you're doing a contiguous construction. So you are doing increases on both sides of that little tiny panel. This is how you grow the front, and then you keep increasing along the neckline once you flip to the shoulder increases. So you do, sort of what the width of your shoulder is, and then with that little line, and then you start increasing on the outside of, like on the edges of where your markers are, I guess, like so that you keep adding stitches and you make this nice little line. You can kind of see it there, which is my sleeve line. And so you create a very nice cap shoulder. This is the finished one, but over here I've only added, I don't know, you can see it right here. I've added like 7 or 8 rows on this sleeve, but I had that whole sleeve cap is done. And then you go and you pick up, your underarm stitches and you add them in. And then you knit in the round for a few inches and then you end it. As a reminder, the finishing on all of the Avenue pieces is that you do a 1x1 rib and then you do a knit bind off, which just gives you this like really clean, kind of more defined line. And this is stratus fingering. So it's the same like, you guys, it looks so different. And I think when I'm wearing this one, because I do think I'll finish this week, when I'm wearing this one next week and I'm holding this one up, like you can truly see the difference. Even like the drape is not terribly different, but it's like so much, the one from Erin is just so much shinier. And this one, and like in live, you can really tell the difference because that feels very silky. And this one feels very like a little bit more rusticy. So it's just interesting. I don't know if they dyed different, if it finished different, or if it's just from different shippers, like suppliers. And so it just is different. But they are both alpaca, 50% alpaca, 25% silk, 25% nylon. This one clearly looks more heathered as well. I love the look of this though. I think this is going to be something I wear literally all the time. Like I'm just going to grab this all summer. Okay. This is what I have to say about that. Anyway, that's all. Really enjoying it. I think I have 6.5 inches done in the body. So yeah, if I add that inch or inch and a half, I'll have like 4 more inches to go. But I did all of this Monday to Wednesday, right? Like I did this pretty quickly and this has just been my desk knit. And because I don't have to look, I don't have to, I've had a lot of meetings. Actually I took Monday off anyway. So Monday I did a little knitting extra, but I was on baby duty. So I didn't have a lot of time to knit during the day, just her nap. But yes. Okay, that's where we are for that. Oh, I am also not going to talk about my crosshatch hacked this week, just because I did take it to Portland, but I didn't, after we had this whole conversation about Portuguese purling, etc., I didn't actually bring a pin with me. It's like the one thing that was on my list, and I had it on a sweatshirt, but not the sweatshirt I brought with me, and I usually just make sure I have one in my little blue thing, but I don't know. I packed the night before and I was actually not panicked in the morning, but I totally forgot it. Not a big deal. Again, I can do it around my neck, but because we were having a lot of conversation and stuff, I also just wanted to knit on something I had 0 thoughts about, which was all my stockinette things. So I did a few rows. We all brought it out and we're working on it for like a little bit, one of the nights. But we did do something fun and cast something on together. So that also took more of my attention. So anyway, I won't talk about it this week because I probably added an inch. So again, I will start bringing that out to show you once, like the weeks that I add significant, but if there are weeks where I don't really add much, I'm just going to skip it because it's going to be kind of a longer term project. I just know I'm not going to whip through it. It's going to take me several months. And it's just a 2-color brioche shawl. So you probably don't want to see it every week anyway. Okay, let's talk about my socks, my March socks, and then we will go on to my new cast on. So I made great progress on these this week, and I feel super stoked about it because I also am just really, really loving the yarn and the pattern and everything about them. So this was where I was last week on sock 1. I had just finished the striping, and I told you I was going to do the Charlotte method, which means I am knitting them like concurrently. 2 separate needles, same needle size, just not on the same needle. I don't like to knit 2 at a time. I don't like the way that you have to do it on I just don't really like 2 at a time. I also don't like the heft that you get once you're towards the end of the sock. So I'm a big fan of 2 needles, and it's been really great because I just add, you know, a few pattern repeats and then switch the other one to a few pattern repeats and go back and forth. So they're about the same size. I think this one's just slightly smaller now. So here's my second one. Also a cutie patootie, don't you think? Okay, let's talk about this color. This color is just absolutely stunning. Okay, so a fun thing happened. Charlotte was at our knit weekend and watches the podcast but is behind. And so I played a game with her, and I asked her what color, because she said something about the color, and I was like, well, what do you think this color name is? And she didn't even hesitate. She just goes, mermaid. And I was like, wait, what? I mean, it does kind of look like mermaidy colors, but to pick that out of the thin air, I thought was pretty amazing. So she did name this correctly. I think Maya and Emily played this game too, and we're not correct, but Charlotte had dead on. She got it right. So this is called Mermaid. It is the 4-ply BFL sock yarn from River Knits. This is a really old one that I got from D-Stash somewhere. And it has the shortest little baby color repeats. You can see it on the stockinette side too. There's just so much color happening in one single row. It's really, really fun to see how it's knitting up. So I'm going to keep going on these. We are almost in the middle of March, so it's March 13th. And so I will try my hardest to get these to heels this week so I can get them, just finished up, like maybe through the heel even this week, so I can just finish them next week, like the next full week, you know what I mean? And then be done with them before the end of the month. That's the goal. It's gonna remain the goal. If you don't know why I'm talking about them in the month, I am doing along with Emily and Ariel, who both have podcasts here on YouTube, so you can hear them talk about their socks as well. Ari Knits and Emily Curtis has Gently Chaotic Knits. We are doing a sock stash, or year of socks from stash. So we are trying to knit, 1 pair per month. They're both doing mostly socks for themselves, though this month, and I think Emily does like some socks for her family too, but Emily is knitting a pair for her husband, and she's using her pattern, Almost Argyle, which I've never used her pattern, and maybe my next sock for me, maybe I'll use that pattern. I've never used it, but it's got a really fun kind of traveling stitch situation. You should check it out. It's very cute. I am knitting mostly for my family, but I'm going to sneak in like 2 or 3 pairs for myself this year. And so yeah, these ones are for me. This is called the Krufka Sock. The Krufka Sock is a pattern by Renia Grabska. She's Comfort Zone Knits on Instagram. She has several free sock patterns. This is a free sock pattern. This is cuff down or toe up. I'm doing the toe up version. I've done the cuff down before. It's my favorite fitting pair of socks. I really love them. I'm making a size 3, which is 66 stitches. I'm using 2.25 millimeter needles. Also, I was looking at Emily's socks when we were all knitting on our socks at some point on the knit weekend, and Emily's stitches are so small. And if you know anything about her struggles for sock knitting, she is generally a very loose knitter, and she might be using zeros, but her stitches are really small. And I was like, maybe I need to bump down to a 2mm and have some tighter stitches, but I know I like the fit of these ones, how they are. So I'm going to stick with this. I like the fabric that I'm getting. If you want to see, it's hard to tell if this is like by comparison. They're not the tightest. It's not the tightest knit ever. Like the fabric is not the tightest you've ever seen, but it is small. It's pretty consistent. And again, this tension doesn't like hurt my hands, so I can knit socks with them. So I don't know, we'll kind of keep experimenting and see what we like this year. Again, I'll be knitting a lot of socks not for me this year, so that'll also be kind of interesting. Knitting a lot of socks for other people, like how I like for tensioning and stuff for them too. So anyway, that's where we are for those socks. I'm really loving them, and I am knitting just inside outside of a single cake, and that just requires me to untangle every time I swap socks, really, is when I do it, unless it's getting annoying otherwise. And I don't find that that's like too arduous or anything. So okay, last thing to talk about is also kind of a doozy, so let's get into it. This weekend, we cast on the book club cardigan as a group knit. We have, I don't know, several people participating. So Katie was not with us, for the weekend, but she did cast on. Sylvan cast on, Maya, Emily, me, Ariel. I think that was all of us. Which is a lot. There's 6 of us, and we maybe have some San Francisco friends that will join us for this too, though they like we did it as a cast on together while we were, you know, in the house together, which was really fun. That's always fun to do. Though casting on together, while fun, is also like everybody needs to focus. This one was actually kind of an easy cast on because you don't start with a lot of stitches. So what did we cast on? We cast on the book club cardigan. Now, with a caveat. For this caveat, I would like to show some pictures. So this is the original shoulder of the book club cardigan. I don't know about all of you, but our entire knit group does not like this little extra leg to start with. I do think a lot of designers who have similar of this diamond shaped thing, also in a drop shoulder, also with the slope shoulder, have found a way to combat that like weird extra leg, just how they're doing chart, fixing things. And quite frankly, I'm going to say this is not that kind, but like, I feel like this was a little bit of lazy designing. There was obviously a way to fix this because she came out with the book club pullover recently, and that issue does not exist. It's not the same exact design because there's like an extra honeycomb or diamond shapes in the middle of that, and so things might be shifted around a little bit, but either way, our group were like sort of meh. That shoulder, it bothered all of us. Just it also bothered us because all of the diamonds are using the same chart, so there is not both shoulders are not equal, and that's also a little bit bothersome, just with the crosses and stuff too. So we went through projects, and obviously somebody fixed this because people on Ravelry and people in this community are amazing humans. And so the person who fixed this, her name is Allie. The fix that we liked the most, there were a couple of people who fixed this in different ways, but the fix we collectively liked the most is the fix from Allie, who her Instagram name is now Super Craftalicious. On Ravelry, though, you'll see her as like the #1 helpful project, and it's like right at the top when you look at projects. It's the first one. It's brown. I'll flash the picture up. This is her fixed shoulder. And this is a kind of far away picture of it, but I'll flash up another one in a second. Her Ravelry name though is Neat and Pearl. I'm gonna do for my little, in the description where I put the pattern links, I'm actually gonna link her project page too. So if you want to read through any of that stuff, you can. So I'll tell you what happened. And this is in her project page, and also I reached out to her because I took it upon myself, and this was not like, I told the group I was going to do this, that I would rechart this for all of us, because I'm going to have to do it for myself since Allie, I think, made a size 3. It's unclear from her project description, but when I talked to her, that's what I think it was. And I was going to not knit a size 3. And some of our group was going to knit a size, like basically from 1 to 5 was on the table. So what ended up happening is okay, so here's the mod that she made. As you can see, here's the closer picture now. I'll show it to you. She put in an extra braided cable. This also goes along the front line and then joins to be like a horseshoe cable, just like the other ones, under the underarm. In Sari's pattern, that doesn't exist. And then the underarms have like a very small, like a knit purl knit column that goes down the middle, or a purl knit purl. It doesn't really matter. It's like a single rib column that goes down the middle, just 3 stitches. Because of the way that braid is, Allie wrote her little mod to add stitches in the beginning for that braid. You end up adding 10 stitches in total, and then you account for that with a slightly, like, starting the chart a little bit less, still doing enough of the increase because that's your shoulder slope pickup, and then you start the body chart a little bit later too, like a couple rows later. So you're just changing where some of the things happen. She also charted this to have the cable start earlier because, I mean, that's why she moved it up, so that you have less sort of just dead space in the very beginning. We all liked those mods a lot. And then otherwise, really, like, it's a big change to the back panel and the tables, or in the charts. And all of the charts, she didn't do all of this. So when I reached out to her, she had like the charts too. So she just sent me what she did for the chart mod, just to show where the 4 rows come from and like what happened. And so and she put this in her notes, right? So I took those charts, and because it was just sort of like a semi-grainy picture that was like in a Google Doc, and I wanted to make these mods for all of us without us having to look pattern and the mod checklist, right? I just went in and I rewrote the entire to the body join of the pattern. Pretty much the body of the pattern. No button band, and I didn't write out the pockets. I did write a little bit about the sleeves too. So that was fun. Took me a little longer than I thought it would, but it was kind of fun to get in there. So I did chart it with like original stitch counts and then the modified stitch counts. And like, so the body does change because there are some extra stitches that are not accounted for. You don't really get rid of, not a lot. It ends up being like 6 extra stitches per size, except for I made an adjustment to size 1. So there was no extra stitches, or only 2, I think. And I did the charts I redid all of the charts. So Sari only has a main table because, again, her diamond pattern is just the same across all. You know, I don't like that because even in this one, I made sure that these were mirrored, and that was true for the pattern, but in the first sample, they weren't mirrored, and I really don't like that. And this is a little bit more complicated of a thing, but with those simple diamonds, you can tell if they're mirrored or not mirrored very easily. So I made them mirrored. So I made 2 main charts, and then the back was mirrored already per Allie's chart. So I just retranslated that for us. And then I also made like the little, our right and left raglan charts, because that's what we're calling the little extra braid. Okay, I told you all of these things, and now I shall show you finally. So it was a lot. It was a lot of mods, and it was worth it. I think it'll be worth it because, yeah, we didn't love the original. And I went through a lot of pattern pictures before we did. Like, we liked this one, and then I went through more notes to see how other people modded it or what happened. This pattern, more than like any pattern I've seen in Ravelry in a long time that I've gone through notes, had more notes, projects with notes, and more people who made pretty significant mods to either change that shoulder thing or other pieces of it, and still wrote like, but I love this pattern. And I was like, I think you like your own pattern. It seems like sari is really popular, and so people jumped on this. And I think there were a lot of cows at the beginning, and then people were like, oh, I actually don't like a lot of things of this, so I'm going to change it. Changes were not maybe super significant or super hard. Ours was a bigger one. I think we'll all like it, but could we have found a pattern that maybe just had all the elements we wanted? Possibly. But I think it was like the idea. Everybody got this idea in their head, and then we're like, let's go for it. So regardless, I made the changes, and it's going to be lovely when it's done. So we looked at this color before because I picked this up from Fiber Gallery when they were closing. I still don't know if they're fully closed, but I might snoop in for some extra yarn if they're not yet this weekend. But I used wool. This is Wool Dreamers Mota. The color, there's no like I didn't look online, but there's no like color name. It's just like 1562 or something like that. So teal, dark teal. It's 100% local wool, so they don't tell you what it is, but it is a 3-ply. It's a woolen spun. It is a little bit crunchy, but I think will be great for a cardigan. Really, really great for these cables. Like they're showing up super beautifully in this color and in this yarn. It's a 3-ply, 252 yards for 100 grams. Okay, that's the yarn. I decided to knit a size 4. 2 reasons. In the pattern, the size 4 is 49.25 inches. This is supposed to be a sweater with 8 inches of ease. I don't want 8 inches of ease. Personal preference. I don't want a big, this is kind of a grandpa cardi. That's like what the style is, but I just don't want a really huge one. I also only got 6 balls of yarn and all in one dye lot, and that's what I'm dealing with. So that's what I'm going to do. Yarn wise also, like I'd be fine. But a lot of people also made the note, which I just noted in the in our like revamped pattern also, is that nearly a lot of the projects, nearly all of them that I read through that had notes, had also changed the size of sleeve. So they just picked up more stitches, and the sleeves were pretty narrow on, even on Sari sample, you can tell that the sleeves are a little bit tighter. And I think a lot of people didn't want that look. So for me too, I probably want to pick up at least 1 size bigger on sleeves, maybe 2, to give myself some, just have it not be constrictive there. And then my gauge is also a little bit off. So I am using a size 4mm needles. I did not want to go to a 3.75. I like the density of this fabric, and I think if I did any smaller, it would feel like really dense. So this is fine, but I am a little bit bigger on gauge. So I think I'll get closer to the size 5 measurements without having to do all those stitches. So how convenient for me. I'm going to do a measurement because I'm not very far in, just to see if, because I did a tiny baby swatch also because I don't like to swatch when I don't have to. So I might do a measurement across the Maas stitch here. And now that I have more of the chart, just to see if it's tightened up a little bit with actually having more stitches, which I think happens on occasion. It also happens the other way. Just depends on what you're knitting. I could re-knit this into a size 5. I'm not going to be super upset if I have to do that. I just will catch it now. I won't go much further before I decide. But now intentionally, and also with the changes of size, I think this is more like 50 and a little bit of inches. My bust again is like somewhere between a 46 and a 47. And I'm okay with less ease even in a cardigan because I don't tend to wear bulky things under my cardigans, especially something that's going to be this warm. So this is where we are. Not a lot done, but a lot talking about this pattern. But I wanted to tell you in the beginning because you're going to be like, huh, what's that weird extra cable that you got going on there? That's what it is. This will go down the slope of my shoulder, and then it will join under the armpit. I will pick up, when I do the pickup stitches here, the last, pretend like this is the back here, these last stitches I pick up here, which I'm not even at yet, will be the ones that also going in the front have the cable, so that they meet up, you know, along the arm edge. So cute. I'm really loving the color. I'm loving everything about our heavily modded book club cardigan. I also put all of this for us in an Excel sheet, so it's actually been kind of fun. It's a Google sheet for me to, I like this style of going through the pattern because it's like pretty easy to read. Maybe everybody else in our club, in our little group hates it, but I like it. I'm not going to like do that for all the projects, but it's like an easier way if I make a copy, to just like cross things out as I go. I'm in the very beginning, so I haven't really done that yet, but I think I'm gonna like that. Okay, let's talk acquisitions. This is everything I bought from Rose City Yarn Crawl. Yeah, it's a large bag, you're right. I did not buy the most out of our yarn group, actually by a mile. I did not buy the most, so I feel good about this. I'm not gonna tell you who did. But I got things mostly that I planned for, some surprise things, not that many. The only thing that's not in here that I purchased is 2 stickers, which they're just like in another little bag. I can show you them next week if I remember. If not, they're very cute stickers. Okay, let's go through it. I'll do it in order. So on Friday I took off work, and so did a couple of the other gals, and so Jess and Ariel and I all left early-ish, 9. It wasn't super early. Ariel came over to my house though, because her partner needed to drop her off. They only have one car, 2, before we were ready to leave, right? So before Jess was ready to leave, and Jess was driving us. Jess lives super close to my house, so I was like, why doesn't Matthew just drop you here? And so he did, and it was just in time to see Theo wake up in the morning, and she's pretty hilarious. So that was pretty fun for her to see her. But the first place we stopped was Hook and Needle, I think is what it's called, and it's in Vancouver, Washington, actually, not in Oregon. So this is the only thing that has sales tax on it, but for the whole weekend, which was we love a no sales tax moment. But this is actually one of the only things I saw online that I was like, ooh, I think I really want that, but I want to see it in person. And so this was one of the pop-ups. It was Ryan from Salty Blonde Fiber. She's super nice. I think she's based out of Colorado, and she has like, you know, pre-orders and other things, but she was doing a pop-up with a bunch of different really pretty colors. Some of other people in our group got just like some of her regular ones, but Sylvan and I both were like really into this palette. Isn't it gorgeous? And she has this really fun, this is like kind of crooked right now, but like the colors are all in here, and this is like thematically our sky. Oh, that's what the thing was called this year, is Our Sky Full of Stars. So people did that in a bunch of different ways to be like stars and galaxy-esque. But yeah, so this is the fun colors. I got the last pack of silk socks. So it's 80/20 Super Rush Merino and silk. They are all 80 yards, 20 grams. There are 10 colors, and I was talking to Ryan about what I would use them for, and I could do socks. That would be really fun. She had a pair of socks that were really cute sitting out, but this is also just enough, because this is 2 full skeins of sock yarn for me, probably to hold double and do a gradient gushy garter tank. Because of the silk content, that's also why I wanted this. It's a 2-ply. That's my intention. Whether or not I stick to that intention, I don't know. I have another 2 quantity of worsted weight that I was actually thinking about doing a gushy garter tank, and really I might make both of them. So this is TBD on that one. But I just feel like that would be such a fun way to use that, and I really enjoyed those colors. Now these ones, you might be guessing, these ones are still kind of in my palette, but they're a little bit lighter than I like, and so I actually think I would do a dark to light tank top. Yeah, so that's my thought if I do that. We'll see. Okay, then we traveled down. We went to Weird Sisters, we went to Starlight, we did 5 in the first day. Oh, we met up with our other car also. They met us at Hook and Needle, even though they left after us. And then we just sort of caravanned down. Oh, and then we went, after Weird Sister Starlight, we went to Ritual Dyes and Rhythm Fiber something arts. I don't know. They're basically a weaving shop, so they had a little less that we were interested in. Okay, what did I get? I named them. At Ritual Dyes, they had a pop-up that was Lana Vendel, and so I told you guys I made like our chart of things, and so I put for the pop-ups what they were, just so we had an idea. And people were interested in just going to Ritual Dyes, but also to see these dyers. So they're from Genoa, Italy. It's a woman-owned fiber, and they do like all rare and local fibers to the Genoa area, and they're milled there and hand dyed there. So it's all like super local, and they shipped them over. They weren't there, but they shipped them over, and they got set up on the big table, and these are sheep breeds that are just not anywhere else. Not all of them, but like this one that I got, they were like, I was talking to the people at Ritual Size. I was like, wow, this feels like Rambouillet. And they're like, yeah, this is like a similar breed of sheep, but it's called Aquilana, and it is there. Like, it is a small, there's not many left in the world, right? So that's pretty cool. So I got this color, which is really pretty. And this is called Oceano Mare, which just means like ocean, sea ocean, I don't know. And yeah, it's called Pure and Simple Wool Mega. That's the blend of this one. So it is a worsted weight. It's 2-ply. It's 180 meters. So it's almost 200 yards for 100 grams. And I am planning to make a beanie out of this. And when I was looking, I was like, I'm just gonna get one, because these were also dyed in really beautiful colors, but not necessarily me colors for any of them. But I did really want to have like one of these really special wools. So I thought this one might be the closest, but when I was standing there with Ariel, I was like, ooh, what if I made like a Manhattan beanie, and maybe even just only doing a single turn, maybe not doing a turn, just so I can use all of this and not need any extra. And Ariel was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And I was like, okay, Ariel, what color do we like most for my head? So I'm turning towards her, and the checkout counter was right behind me. But like, if you've ever been in Ritual Dyes, it's a very small store. So I'm very seriously just going like this with all these different colors. But the best part was Ariel was standing there and she's like, like very seriously looking at me go, this one? And like picking out different colors. And the people at the checkout counter are just standing there and like giggling at us. And one of the girls is like, I have an opinion too. And I was like laughing. I like turned around and I was like, okay, but the whole best part of this was Ariel's face. Just being so serious that this is a normal thing, which we do a lot. Like if we're buying yarn together, we're like, what do you think of this? Like, could I wear this color? Is this close enough? You know, like, fiber crazies. Anyway, so this will be hot. And yes, Ariel did help me pick this one. And I really love the color. So again, Aquilana, 100% Aquilana. It feels like that matte, nice squishiness, just like, yeah, like a Rambouillet. Very similar. Okay, what did I buy next? I think I didn't buy anything else. Yeah, I didn't buy anything else the first day. So that was Friday. So Saturday, I got a lot of yarn. I don't know that I bought, I think I only bought like nothing on Sunday. Okay, so as you know, we went to the EKF pop-up. Yes, we were first in line this year again, which was very fun. Okay, I'll show you first. The very first thing on the agenda to buy was Fire. I actually thought I was going to buy this in worsted also, and I do really love it. Dyed, I like the way the color breaks on worsted. But I was surprisingly fell in love with something else, and so I just swapped colors. Okay, so I got some skeins of this on Denali stock, enough to do a t-shirt. I think is gonna be more on my agenda for this one. And I just like absolutely am dead over these colors. Like, it's just, they're so good live. Like, I love them. Okay, so that's the first thing on the agenda. The second thing on the agenda is I kind of knew I wanted this, and you're gonna laugh because this, yeah, looks shockingly like the thing I'm knitting right now. Like, I had this in my bag too. Yeah, that's super similar. Don't care. This is To the Stars Who Listen, and also, like, I can't believe I only have one To the Stars Who Listen sweater anyway. That is my boucle, because this is, yeah, one of my all-time favorite colors. And this is on her linen sock. So similar, but a different blend. This is 80% superwash merino and 20% linen. And it's 437 yards for 100 grams. And it is such a nice, it's softer. The linen is definitely less apparent than it is like in that one. Like the way that it's blended is really different. And it's got like, it's still heathery, but it's far less heathery than that one. And I'm going to make something different. I think I'd do something with texture for this one, because I think this yarn is also slightly plumper. Even though it's really similar yardage wise, like just the like looseness and drape of the alpaca is really different than the merino. So I am planning to do something, and I'll probably do something, a t-shirt that has some texture, like I said. So it won't look exactly the same, but who cares if it is? I can have 12 teal things if I want. I'm telling you, I really do. Because the color that shocked me, that I really loved in person, and maybe this is a little bit like I'm being book influenced right now too, is another that To the Stars to Listen is an ACOTAR color. You Do Not Yield, I believe, is a Throne of Glass color, but also from the Maas Made Me Cry collection that Allie guest dyed with. The collection is from Jess at Witchfire Fibers. And this was Allie's like guest dye color. She also had a tonal that's called Fireheart and is like a bronze color. There's a little bit of that bronzy, mucky green kind of color in here. And so actually when I saw this, the pictures of it online, I was just like, I could skip it. Like I didn't buy any, I did buy from Jess, but I didn't buy any from Allie during that launch. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really love it that much. Maybe that green is like too foresty with the teal, but I saw it live and I really, really like it. Like it's calling to me. It's calling to this like darker side of knitting I want to do. And I decided to get this on Carlsbad worsted. So I have enough to do a sweater and I don't know what sweater yet. I'm probably going to do something without a lot of pattern. I was kind of thinking like a modified port sweater or something like that. But I just want this color to sing. Like I really love it. And I have definitely some, but I don't have tons and tons of worsted. And I do like how fast they knit up. So sometimes you just got to have a worsted on your needles. I don't know when I'll knit that, but it's on the agenda. Okay. So that was all from, Knotty Lamb. This is where we went in the morning. We were first in line for Allie's pop-up. We got to say hi to her when she went in with Darren to get set up. And also while I was there, actually, the only other thing I bought is over here. I bought from Rachel, who is Knitting and Root. Also on Allie's team, but does this on the side. Gosh. And if you remember, the Knitting and Root is actually like, she's doing like the stitch markers for the elements, and then she did for the solstice box too. And you know, she told me something about the one for the solstice, which I did not know. And it's this cute little like sheep in the field. You can kind of see there on the side, there's a moon. Apparently, if I hold this up to the light for a few minutes and then I go in a dark room, that will glow. I was like, what? That's crazy. Okay, so what I decided to buy from Rachel is that I gotta tell you, I think that this is an absolute steal. And so I did this even though it's unnecessary completely. But this was only $20. So she had she had her elements sets out. Oh, they were gorgeous. Okay, so sorry, my camera cut off, so I don't know what I was saying about this. But basically, I got a bunch of these because they were pretty cheap. She was doing like 3 get 1 free sort of situation, and they were like just a couple dollars each. So no, I don't need more accent stitch markers. But here's what I found. My best use case for these is when I do sleeves and I had to do decreases. Every like 5 decreases or some number that I'm like trying to hit divisible by, I like to have a pretty stitch marker. That's my goal to get to them. So more of these is not bad. I'm happy to add them to my little collection. And so they've got like all different kinds of patterns. I've got a mushroom from the earth, and the rest of them I think are just like accents from whatever. There was like clouds and maybe something for the fire one, but I liked these bright, colorful ones. Okay, back to the yarn. So I think that I got this on Saturday. Later in the day, we did like we did some back towards Portland. So we finished our card on Saturday. We did 5 on Friday, 5 on Saturday. Emily and Maya didn't join us until Saturday, and they both like didn't care about finishing, which is fine. All that really happens is that you go in, you get a stamp at each of the places, and then you hand it to the last place, and you get entered for a drawing. Not that I don't think any of us won. Maybe we did. I don't know. I didn't check with anybody, but you basically could win a basket or something from one of the stores individually. They all had like a Google form you could fill out, or handing them in at the end, the paper goes to like the big Rose City and they do a grand prize. I'm sure lots of people finish because 10 is not that many. It's very reasonable, and none of them are super, super far. The furthest is Knotty Lamb from like the epicenter of Portland. So we like worked our way back. We did Green Trees, which actually had a lot of, I think that's where we got stickers. The stickers were really cool. And then we went to the one that was closest to where we were staying, which was For Yarn's Sake. I think that's where I got this next haul of things. Then we went to Northwest Wools. I'll just tell you the rest of the weekend. The Northwest Wools, which is the smallest shop. not the smallest. Well, I think Ritual Dyes may be smaller, but it's really tiny. It's like an old house, but it's the oldest yarn store in Portland, I think is what they said. But there I did get something, so I'll tell you about that one. So then the last one I went to was Close Knit, which is like further into the city. Really should have hit that on the way down during the day before, but we did not, which was fine. It was cute in there. I didn't actually buy anything at that store. So the last couple places we went for yarns, I didn't get anything but the stickers at Green Trees Crochet. And then at, okay, I also am not going to call this one, like, this was not an impulse purchase necessarily, but I didn't know if I was going to get it this weekend. I had thought about it. So last year, this is not a yarn I can't get elsewhere. I can absolutely get it elsewhere. The one place that sometimes you can get a discount, and I think they have this one in their discount thing, is online at yarn.com, Web's yarn store. But they don't have a lot of colors. Like every time I've gone on to look, I swear it's just been like, they don't have a lot of colors, or they don't have a lot in the colors. And I don't know if that's just when I'm looking, but I saw this last year and they had some at Weird Sisters, but they didn't have a lot of colors and they didn't have like a lot of them. And they didn't have, oh, actually the natural color, which is what I was thinking that I want for a colorwork thing. So not to hold you in suspense, but I did get some Kelborn Woolens Scout. This is their DK weight yarn. It's 274 yards for 100 grams. It's a 2-ply. So similar to Rocky's density, but not the Rocky's problem. And then I got this one to go with it. And the sweater I had thought about for this previously was the Kerr, because I have had this pattern for a while and I wanted a non-superwash wool, and this is just 100% wool is what it says. It is nice and soft though, for the color work of that. And I wanted it to like bloom nicely, and I wanted a dark color with a light color. I had ideas. I just hadn't found the perfect thing yet. And so here we are. This had no sales tax, so let's just call it on sale, and really fun. So I got the color Plum Heather and Natural. And so I'm going to do it this way, and this I'm going to do the wide color work section. And so this one's been on the list for a while, and I've had this pattern for a while. So this is like making dreams come true over here. The last thing I bought was actually at Northwest Wools, and they had Shaggy Bear Farms there. And so that wasn't like a pop-up or anything. That was just in the store. For Yarn Sake has a big, like pretty big selection and a lot of choices of colors and stuff. So I was pretty impressed with them. And we didn't go there last year. So Shaggy Bear Farms is also out of, I think, more Southern Oregon. And she has some rescue animals that are in her flock and others, but she's got a bunch of rare breed sheep. So this one is a rare breed, and some of them are like endangered and stuff too. So it was pretty cool to see and feel all the different things. She has cards, like these printouts that were like laminated that were about all of the different sheep breeds that she has. Some of them were mixes, some of them were already spun into yarn, and everything is dyed, milled local, and sheared local. So this one is called Polypay, and it feels very Rambouillet-esque. No, this is not a color you would think I would pick. This is called Mum's the Word. I just really loved it. I love the feel of it. And I'm going to combo knit or combo spin it with this one, which is much more yellow. But I knew, actually just the first time I pulled it out, I knew it would go so well. And I think I'll probably, do a combo spin, try to get a DK weight, and do like a simple thing, scarf for someone. Not for me, this will be a gift knit, but I knew I had this and I wanted to use it with something that was a little bit more purple, but really similar vibes. And this is super similar vibes. This is also 4.2 ounces. And yeah, Polypay. So, and this one here is Merino. So they feel pretty similar. This one feels like, actually, I think maybe this one's softer. The Polypay is softer. So crazy over here. Whoever's going to get this is going to have like the softest little scarf ever. So, not something I'll spin right away, but definitely something I might spin this year towards the end of the year to gift knit or something. But love the idea of doing this. Honestly, if I got like a really truly plum one, I could do a nice 3-ply and maybe then do like a bigger thing. We'll see who I think that this should be gifted to, and then I can make that decision. That's all I bought. So the damage was not super crazy. I've got 2 sweater quantities, 2 t-shirt quantities, a tank top quantity, a hat, and a fiber. So, I mean, overall, I feel like I did okay. I mean, I made out well. I definitely got a lot of yarn, but I didn't go super crazy. I didn't just buy tons of stuff with no plan. So that's how our Portland weekend went. Like shop wise, we had an Airbnb where we were 8 of us that we stayed at. We had a lot of fun there. We stayed in for dinner both nights because everyone was kind of exhausted. We didn't want to drive too far back and forth, like from where we ended up being. On Saturday, one of the cars went to also Ritual Dyes and like got some extra stuff, and I was not in that car. But I have a very good friend, the one who I made the blanket for, that was like that pretty rainbow sherbet Lobby and Amy blanket. Since we didn't do our Portland trip in February, but we are going to do it in April, I was still like, hey, I'm going to be there, so can I see you? So she actually came and hung out with us at our house on Friday, and she lived really close to the Airbnb, so I went to see her on Saturday. It was the first time I got to meet the baby, and she's got dachshunds. She's got lots of animals, but 2 of them are she has 2 dachshunds that are so cute, and I've known them both since they were little babies, and I have not seen them in several years because they were moving and we weren't traveling. And so I like just sat on the floor for like 20 minutes giving them all the pets, and it was the best thing ever. And then when I got home, I was unpacking my bag and I put those pants on the bed, and Winter freaked out. She just smelled my pants for like 5 whole minutes, just was so excited. She also loves these doggies, and I've known them since they were puppies. Well, they've known her since she was a puppy, I guess. So anyway, that's the fun. We had a lot of fun. It was really nice seeing friends, eating some good food, hanging out and knitting, having a lot of just like yarn time. It was the best. I actually thought this was maybe more fun than last year, only because last year we only did 1 day. I think the 2 days was really great. I think overall, like, yeah, vibes were good. Everyone was having fun at all the places. Even people who were not heavily shopping were just like there to enjoy all the fiber. We met some people out. I got some of you said hi to me, so hi again. It was really nice. I got to meet some new friends also, just like complimented what I was wearing and other things. That was like, just like, that's why the best vibes when you go to a yarn crawl like this. Like some of the places were pretty packed. We had to wait in line a couple of places, but like overall, people are just there to like enjoy yarn together and give out the nice compliments. So it was really fun. I think probably the weirdest place to go is always Knotty Lamb in the morning of EKF, because it just is so packed and crazy, just like way more packed, way more people, and like not like people were really nice at the EKF table. It's just like, yeah, it's just a little bit more craziness. I also did get yarn, which I didn't show you, but another linen sock for a friend, and so I'm going to ship that to her today. I did see everybody, like I know there's a couple other Portland people who watch and who I thought maybe I'd see, but like if you just are on different yarn crawl days or different shop days, you will not pass each other. It's because a lot of things are not walking distance to each other or anything. So lots of driving, but lots of fun. I will go through books really quick. So obviously without the whole weekend to read, and I really didn't read it all the weekend, I read less books, but not tons less. I finished 3 books. So I read Too Beautiful to Break, which is the 3rd of that Tessa Bailey, the Clarkson siblings books. This one is, I finished them both on the same day, but like I had just finished the end of one and then I read the whole of the other one. So Too Hard to Forget was the 3rd one, and that one is the sister's book. So there's 2 sisters. This was the younger sister, Peggy, her book, and she's like the one that's like in serial relationships, but has been engaged 4 times, but never walked down the aisle. And you find out why. There's the one that got away. So Too Hard to Forget. She doesn't really touch on this being like a slightly inappropriate relationship, but this is like definitely like the guy's like got to be 12 or 13 years older than her. I don't know if they say their ages at some point. So they're like, I think more than 10 years apart. But the inappropriate thing was that like, he was the football coach and she was a cheerleader when they first had a relationship. Not that he had any authority over her, but he was still like an older person of influence. I don't know. There's things. She was pursuing him, but still, regardless, maybe a little bit icky, the situation there. But there's also the thing that I find kind of hilarious is like he's 35 now, but is called like the Kingmaker and has won a bunch of championships. And not that he couldn't have won them early, but this was 3 years before. If he had already had that reputation at 32, he would have had to become a head coach and win championships by 27 or 28, which is not theoretically unheard of, but like unheard of. Like you don't become the head coach in your early 20s. You at a school that has a reputation for winning and like let's say call them like in the Big Ten. That's relatively unlikely. Like and that, then a bunch of guys go to the NFL. That's why he's called the Kingmaker. It is much more likely you're like the offensive coordinator first or the defensive coordinator, and then you become the head coach like in your 30s. So anyway, impractical things happen in books, but there's a thing that I thought about. I was like, wow, he seems really young. Like I thought if this whole thing, he's a head coach and then you find out his age, I thought he was gonna be in his like late 40s, but no, he's only like 30 something. Still inappropriate, but whatever. Too Beautiful to Break is the 4th one, and that is about the oldest brother who has like he by far the most issues. And it was like the culmination of the story and them finally making it to do the polar bear plunge on Coney Island. There was a reason why their mom sent them. That came full circle. I really liked that book. That one is about, unsurprisingly, Sage, who is like the best friend of Peggy, who was her wedding coordinator for all of her weddings that she never went down the aisle for, and the oldest brother. And it's actually a lot more about Sage's issues and then a little bit about his also. Like the part of that was surprising, really, really sad. Her thing was a little bit heavier, but it was a good outcome. It was a good book. These were maybe not my favorite of any of her series that I've read, but they were fine. Okay. So I read those 2, and then I also finished Crown of Midnight, which is the second of the Sarah J. Maas Throne of Glass series. I started the 3rd one also because I really like the 3rd one. I think I really like the 3rd one. I can't remember which one I liked the most. I know I liked somewhere like in the middle, not the 7th book. 7th book was good, but the 7th book is so long. And like a little bit too much war in it for me. Not that like that's the point, obviously. So like you have to have some of it, but like maybe the battles were too long, which again, she does a pretty good job of moving you through the different characters in the battles, but like it was long. Anyway, I know I liked like somewhere 3, 4, and 5 the most, like some of those books, but I was really excited to get into 3. So I finished 2, and 2 is where you learn some surprising things kind of thrown in right at the end. And the story does a major shift at the end of the 2nd one. So I was excited to get into it, and I couldn't remember all of the things that happened because it's been a couple of years since I read them, and I read them pretty fast. And also I was like reading a lot of Sarah J. Maas things at that time. So I'm kind of excited to start with these because I do think there's pieces of this story in the way they talk about things like portals that are going to bring me maybe more clarity. And also, Sarah J. Maas has not done a crossover into the Throne of Glass world, but I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibilities with the things that you learn in these books about portals and other things and otherworldly beings coming through them and other things. So I'm just going to leave it there for you. I am excited to continue reading, do my reread for these books. Maybe also why I was really excited about that Color You Do Not Yield. I don't know. Easily could be. Okay, that's books. Because we talked about Rose City and this has already been like, I feel like I've been talking for 9 hours. I am done for today. I will say I want to address one really quick thing about Portuguese purling. So I had some really great feedback. Thanks, guys. I'm glad that was useful to you. I feel like I did that in a weird way. So I maybe will film, even if it's just like another reel or 2 on Instagram about like the setup and using them with like an actual overhead angle, but doing a really short video. But a couple of people were like, yes, this is a thing that that is useful and will use. It does take some time getting used to, but what I wanted to address is I had a couple of people ask me the scenarios in which I use this. So I do not do 1x1 ribbing with a Portuguese purling pin. I combination 1x1 rib. I've talked about this in other episodes, but I might actually film a short of this too and like insert it into a video so you guys can see it, because that one you really do need to see like my hands doing it. I didn't clean this up at all after doing it, but you can see that like my knit stitches are pretty clean looking on that. That's a 1x1 rib. That's what mine looks like generally speaking. Obviously the yarn and stuff can change this a little bit. But for 2x2, I do generally just use my pointer finger and like change the yarn forward and purl that way. If it's a bigger rib than that, I may use the pin. I think I actually, and do Portuguese knitting, or I'll just pull off and kind of knit with my finger assisted, which is like kind of annoying, but I will do it that way. So I just do different things depending on how I feel about the ribbing of it. But the other scenarios, like I said, I will do on occasion 2-color knitting inside out color work with the pin. You do have to do the chart the opposite way that you would think, because otherwise it will be backwards. I do also, like somebody asked me if I really truly change every row. When I put it over my head, that is a little bit more annoying to negotiate with hair and other things. But if you're using the pin, it's really fast. I do change every row when I'm doing flat stockinette. So the only exception is like if it's less than 10 stitches, I might just purl. It really depends. With the book club cardigan, because that yarn is so toothy and I want a good tension on it, I actually have been switching and using the pin for even sections of purls across, just in the charted piece. If I'm doing like a big cable thing like this, I might do it also for if it's like a large amount of pearls. But if it's like mixed knitting and pearls that you're doing like the back side of the cables or even the front side of the cables, then no, I don't use the pin. So it just sort of like, I feel it out for the sections. It just keeps my stitches a little bit tighter. If I feel like I need it, I will use it. But for flat stockinette, I definitely do. So anytime I'm doing a sweater that's like a flat stockinette panel on the back, and then you do the pickups before I join in the round, all of that is going to be Portuguese purl on the wrong side. And when I did something like the clay sweater, which has purl bumps, but in the traveler, I used every purl row, I was using the Portuguese pin. Does it slow me down to set it up? Like maybe, but also I am more satisfied with the fabric, so that doesn't really bother me. And I purl faster if I do it with the pin. Just like I'm pretty good at it now. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Okay, that's all. Thanks friends for joining. I would really love to know if anything from my haul surprised you. Are you shocked? Do you think that those are good pattern matches for those things, for the ones that I shared, pattern matches? And then also what are you working on? I always want to know. You guys give me such great inspiration. Again, find me on Ravelry. Not that I'm telling you have to put your projects there, but yeah, I love to stalk you. Oh, I have 2 things really quick. I want to say thank yous to a couple of people. So number 1, I very kindly today got gifted a pattern, and I do have like a wish list on Ravelry. I'm not telling you guys you have to buy from it, but this person went to my wish list, and also because I talked about it like on my freeform board, and purchased me a pattern from there that I don't have, which was really it was really kind. So thank you, Valerie. I am so excited. I'm definitely going to cast that one on this year. Really psyched. The other thing is just one that's been in my office, and I put it underneath of a pile of things and I forgot to say, but more than a month ago at this point, I got the best little surprise. So Laura, who is a podcast watcher, was college roommates with Ariel, and so it also watches my podcast and her podcast, but she is also a book nerd, so does a lot of like book related knits, which I love so much. I love how she like puts all of them and how she describes them on her Instagram. But she gave me, from one book nerd to another, I wanted to share some book themed art that she thought that I might like. So I will show you a couple of these. So I think I might gift one of these, which is Elizabeth Bennet. Not that I don't like the Bennet sisters, but Jane Austen is like nice, but I think I have room for these 2 other ones, and also a lot of room in my heart for them. So this one is Hermione Granger, and these are just really beautiful prints of art, but on like really beautiful paper, and gives you some things that were like description of the character, a painting of them, some things about them, and some like things that you like, just like character things. So this one also really fun because there's socks. They call her a terrible knitter though, which is pretty funny. And then this one, which is Farah Archeron, which also is hitting home right now as I'm doing my SJM reread. I have not gotten to ACOTAR yet, but yeah, she'll be pretty fun. And so I am actually going to rearrange some art in my office, and I think these will make it here, or they'll make it onto my bookshelf. So Laura, thank you for these. They're very beautiful, just like really stunning little artwork and totally unexpected. So excited to get those up. But yeah, so those are my two little thank yous. Very grateful for any, like, you guys are so kind to just think about me anytime. And so nice to meet yarn friends and be able to meet you and chat with you offline of just me chatting at you. So yes, please share what you've been knitting on, how your weekend was. If you went to Rose City, what did you find? What did you buy? What was like the best thing? If you don't go to Rose City, do you have any like fun yarn crawls coming up in your area? Let us know below. Always interested to hear what people are up to in their own like little knitting communities. I always have fun chatting with you. I hope you have a really good night, day, weekend, whenever you're watching this, and I'll talk to you next week.